first you're going to see in there, you're going to see a disclaimer. And really, by law, I'm required to put the disclaimer in there that just says, you know, I'm not a doctor. You know, I'm not trying to heal anything for you. I'm basically just showing you better ways to put life force nutrition in our bodies, right? So there's also a release there. So sometime by the end of the program, if you wouldn't mind just giving me an initial or a signature on it, just saying, you know, that you agree. Do you see somebody? Is this piece of paper right here, and it's called the carcinogens in your meats. Because a lot of people are not aware of the fact that when you cook a meat, it really turns into a carcinogen. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that, and I'm just going to highlight a few things. So what an HCA is, it's a DNA damaging compound produced as a meat cooks at a high temperature. So when you're roasting, baking, barbecuing, those types of things. The longer and hotter the meat cooks, the more the compounds form and the deadlier it becomes. So the reason I bring this up is because a lot of folks think, oh, I'm eating chicken. Oh, I don't eat a lot of red meat. But the issue becomes then how we cook it, right, and how the carcinogens form. Because we know that carcinogens are actually something that feeds the cancer cells that are in our bodies. In addition, grilling or broiling meat over direct flame results in fat dropping on hot fire, which produces flames containing polycystic aromatic hydrocarbon, which is a PHA. Now, those are those pheromone producing smells. Like when you smell someone's barbecue and you're like, oh, that smells so good. You know why it smells good? Because it changes our chemical neurology. It changes everything in our brain that is telling us, oh no, we're not supposed to eat it, but it's like an aphrodisiac for our brain. It tells us, and then it triggers, as soon as that happens, it triggers the hunger pain. So it doesn't matter if you just had a full meal, when you smell that, it automatically makes you feel like you could eat again. I provided you this top 10 foods to eat, top 10 foods to stay away from. Okay. You can take a look at that. It shows you the cruciferous greens, which are the cancer-fighting vitamins. It's a microgreen, so it's a micronutrient. It's going to provide you a lot of energy, those sort of things. And then, of course, you have the avoid on the other side. Sorry. Okay. And then, of course, you have the nutrition rainbow, right? And it just kind of is a partner to this. Right? So, and it shows you, like, the colors. Okay. So what red foods, what phytonutrients they have in it, what vitamins they provide. So for each color, of course, you're getting a different fiber, you're getting a different grain, you're getting actually even different benefits to the body. So that's why we promote eating your colors, eat more rainbows, put the rainbows on your plate. Because the rainbows are what's going to provide you the nutrients you need to give you energy, build strong bones, those types of things. And then you have your recipes in there, of course. And then I also provided you this here. So this is just like a compilation of different foods that are fun for kids to eat, different variations of things you can put together, lunch and dinner ideas. You know, if you're in a pinch and you don't know what to do, you can grab this list and look at it and say, okay, I can stay in line with what I learned if I just look at this piece of paper. It doesn't really have a title. It just, at the top, it says Nourishing Juice Combinations. Okay. Which juicing, I'm a big juicer. I highly promote juicing. So my thought process is based on New Start. I know you're familiar with it. Are you familiar with New Start, the acronym New Start? Anybody? So New Start stands for nutrition, exercise, water. Then on the other hand, you have sunshine, temperance, which is self-control, which we need to have with our diet. We have air, rest, and trust. So that's New Start. And that's my whole motto. I base everything I do on that acronym. So the first one we're doing is the smashed chickpea salad sandwich. So this actually replaces a chicken salad sandwich. So I have measured out in here 19 ounces of chickpeas. Now the recipe says you only need 15, but I wanted to add a little bit more just to make sure that we all had enough, in case you want to have seconds.
So those are like, if it's in a can, that can be 2 cans of
Two
chicken?
cans.
2 cans.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for the sake of time, you can absolutely use a can. I just always cook my beans ahead of time. I take 1 day a week. I cook my legumes, my beans, my chickpeas, everything, and then I bag them up in individual bags, and I put them in the freezer, and it saves for time. If you ever pinched, you know, during the day or during the week, and you want to make something really quick, and you don't have a can of chickpeas, you know what I mean? You just pull it out of the freezer, pop it in some hot water for 10 or 15 minutes, and you've got chickpeas, and you're ready to make them.
So do they, when you get it out of the can, do you have to take the skin from? No, the skin, because there's a skin on it.
No, there's skin on it. I leave the skin in it.
Okay.
Yep. I leave the skin on mine. And once you see the texture of the chickpea salad, you'll understand why I leave it. Now, if you see me variating away from the recipe, it's okay. That's just a template for you, and what I find is once you do it, you're gonna want to play with it and put your own flavors and likeness in it anyway. Okay, you don't have to stick to this one particular recipe unless you suffer from, you know, diabetes or high blood pressure or something like that. Then you want to be careful what you put in. But I'm very careful about what I put in because I like to leave some chunks, some whole chunks. You do not have to have them completely broken down. Just preference. And I've made this enough times, I've learned. So when I dump this in here, you're going to be able to see there's some pieces that are whole. There's some that are not. I don't know if you guys can see. But, so yeah, so there's some pieces that are still whole. And you see how you see the skins that Rebecca was talking about? Right? So anyway, I'm going to leave that here for you, and I'm going to chop this. Now, if you are someone who doesn't have a lot of time to do this chopping, you can absolutely buy a jar of the dill pickle radish or whatever, and you can spoon it. I just opted for this. Right, sure got me to save a lot of time. Be able to see just how easy you can make it. See, I forgot to do the carrots, but guess what? I'm just going to pull some of these matchstick carrots out, and you can use these. So I get these organic carrots from Walmart. I tell you, Walmart, I love Walmart. They carry so much more organic options now than they used to. Yeah. So these I'm just going to throw in here. Just because I thought I bought a small size glove and I can't really chop. I'll end up chopping my fingers off. And so, as you can probably tell too, I don't really follow the recipe. You have the recipe, but I don't. I'm just so used to making it that I pretty much know my measurements already. So yummy. So what are some things that you guys you guys have breakfast today? Want to share some ideas about what did you do for breakfast? Anybody?
Cuisine.
What's that?
Go ahead. I didn't hear what
You're ashamed too?
I had some rice and some fried okra.
Okay,
Yeah.
Those are healthy. Rice and okra. Now you've got me intrigued. What did you have?
Cereal.
Is that one of your favorite cereals?
Light.
Convenient?
Yeah.
It was convenient. I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Brenda, what did you have for breakfast?
No breakfast.
Okay.
No
Me too.
breakfast?
No breakfast yet. I haven't
Oh,
had
wow.
And
breakfast.
then, you know what? And that's absolutely fine because like sometimes I don't
Well,
even have
I did
breakfast.
do
right?
I did do juicing this morning. I did beets and carrot juice.
Wow,
this
good for
morning. Yeah.
you.
So I haven't eaten anything,
Okay.
but I did my
You
juice.
can do that on an empty stomach?
Yeah, you can. First
Yeah,
thing in the
I'll
morning,
go,
the
I'll go.
cells need that
That's
to survive.
true.
That fresh juice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do my fresh juice. I don't even use my juicer half the time because I don't like to clean it.
Yeah.
So I'll
That's
throw
the
my stuff
thing.
in my Vitamix
You're right.
and I'll just make a juice.
You're
Besides,
right.
if
The
you're using
cleaning.
organic, it's
Uh-huh.
better for you anyway to eat the pulps.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's where all the nutrients are. As long as it's an organic
Mhm.
vegetable. So now I'm going to throw in my vegan mayonnaise. And I usually buy the veganese, but Trader Joe's didn't have it, and I ended up shopping at Trader Joe's yesterday just because it was closer. I didn't want to go all the way to Walmart. So I'm just gonna mix all of this in, and that's quite a bit more than what's on the recipe as far as.
A little bit so I can see.
Yep.
There you go.
So it's quite a bit more because I do have a lot more chickpeas. So here are the seasonings that I'm going to use. So we have onion powder, and I'm measuring it. Usually I dump it in my hand and do it, but for probably don't want to do that right now. It just might make everybody cringe. This is the onion powder that I'm using. Just 1 tablespoon.
Okay.
And then I'm going to mix in a teaspoon of paprika. You will not find this on your recipe,
But we should add it on there.
you should add
What is
it.
that?
Teaspoon of
Teaspoon of
paprika.
paprika, because it really brings out the flavors. Just mix this up. If it gets a little dry and you don't want to add too much more mayonnaise, you can always pop in like a tablespoon of lemon juice. Acidic acid, that always brings the flavors around. Always. Anytime you squirt a lemon on something, it just really brings your flavors together. I am going to add a little bit more mayonnaise because I really want you to experience the texture. I grew up on chicken salad sandwich. My mama was always making that and the egg salad sandwich, which I also do with tofu.
Really?
Yep.
That sounds interesting.
It
I
is.
do.
It sounds interesting.
It's very yummy. And you would make it the same way. You would just use a soft tofu.
So that chicken salad you're making, does it have to be cold chicken salad, or you can
Well,
you
we're
can
gonna.
put it on the burner and heat it up? Or something?
Well, so you're saying, can I turn that into a chickpea burger? Probably not in this particular state.
Okay.
What you would need to do is grind it down a little bit more, process it down a little bit more,
Okay.
add some flaxseed and maybe some like potato starch or something to hold it together.
Okay.
Because if you try to throw
That's-
this on the
that's what I
grill,
was
it's just
going.
gonna crumble.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
And
I
that's
was
another
going
class.
there,
I mean,
trying
we
to
can
turn
do
it into
that.
that.
I do chickpea burgers a lot too.
That's
Okay.
a good idea.
Yeah, I thought about it.
Chickpea
Why not?
burger.
Yeah.
So let's
I'll
get.
just write it right here. Chickpea.
Yeah, you can do a chickpea. I just need to. Okay. So given that we
Add potatoes.
used so many chickpeas,
Potato stuff?
I'm gonna go just a little bit more with the seasoning. Not much, just a
She
little.
said flaxseed and
Potato
Yeah.
starch.
and potato starch.
Yeah, I have recipes for those that I
Okay.
can share with you
Okay.
another time if you like. Now, I'm just gonna put a little pinch of salt just to bring everything out. Now you're gonna see me drop just a little dab will do you of the lemon juice. Whoop. I'm a very messy cook. Okay. This has a whole pickle in there. Somebody might end up with a whole pickle in there. this here. We're gonna move on to our kale cabbage salad. And I have these are some optional throw-ins or toppings that I'm actually going to be using today, unless somebody has a preference they don't like.
What did you call that? Wait,
So these
Kale,
here
cabbage.
are cranberries. These are pepitas, pumpkin seeds. Sorry, I say them the way my husband says them. I've got some roasted sunflower kernels that you can throw on the top of your salad.
and we don't have that recipe, right?
We don't have that recipe.
You have the recipe. These are just optional throw-ins. So, okay, go.
Kale.
Sorry.
You
Go.
get the miso seed.
Yep.
Okay.
You're right. So, you have
Orange.
the
Oh,
dressing.
okay,
You
yeah,
have the
I was
ingredients
going
to
to.
make the dressing. Okay.
Okay.
So the salad that I'm doing, please write it down, because basically what you can do is you can make any salad you want.
Okay.
You don't have to use this dressing with this salad. This is just one of my favorite salads,
Okay.
and it's the one that I chose.
Okay. So we have to write this recipe down.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically just cabbage, kale, and then you can use any optional throw-ins that you like.
Okay. So then you gotta tell us.
So now I'm just draining my dates.
What is it called?
Two.
So it's a cabbage kale salad
Okay.
with the orange miso dressing. We're gonna throw together the salad right now. Honestly, I was going to just throw together cabbage and kale and carrots for you guys, and then this morning I decided, no, I'm gonna teach them how to throw in some options.
I've never heard of cabbage kale. Can you tell me what that is?
It's just cabbage and kale.
Oh, okay. What's that thing you just drained?
These are, I drained these are the dates for the dressing that we're gonna be making for the salad.
Because I think is you use it for sugar substitute, right?
Yeah, it it makes it nice and sweet. It really balances out the miso and the lemon that we're gonna throw in there. So, okay. So I have my chopped kale, and I do include my stems. So if I see any big ones, I'll just pull them out.
So how much kale do you think that is? Should we
This
look
is
at
one
the
whole
recipe?
bunch of kale.
Okay.
This is one whole bunch of kale.
Okay.
And what I do is I use my S blades or my veggie blades on my processor, and I just throw it in there, and if you wanted to chop it, you can absolutely chop it. What I do with my knife. Oh, you put it over there. Okay. So I'm just trying to make sure there's no. I am weird. I like the stem. My husband says I'm weird. He says, I don't know why you eat the stem, but you know what? The majority of the nutrients are in the stem. So that's what I like. But if you don't like it this big, when you're at home, you can grab, and just chop it smaller if you want.
Don't chop your fingers.
What's that?
Don't chop your fingers.
No, not gonna do that. So I'm just showing you. If you got something big in there, you can chop it up. But honestly, I like it like this. Another thing you can do. Some of the supermarkets now, they actually have washed, chopped bags of kale. As long as you're,
Okay.
just be mindful of what you're buying.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have, so the cabbage, what I did with the cabbage, I actually chopped by hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I dumped that in there. And so what I did is I cleaned my cabbage, and then I just make little patties. And it doesn't have to have any rhyme or reason to it. It is however you do it, right? It doesn't take mad knife skills or anything like that. Just be careful that you don't cut yourself, like you said. Right, and then just throw it in there. Okay. Now let me get some. I'm going to forego the carrot in the salad because we have carrot in the chickpea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then we're just, so what I'm doing now is just throwing the salad together.
What
In
is that
here,
one? Uh-huh.
this is about 3/4 of a cup of dried cranberries. The cranberries just kind of help add some sweetness and some texture. Another thing that you can put in here that's really, really yummy, and I do it at Christmas time, and I call it my Christmas tree salad, is pomegranate. But I couldn't find a pomegranate yesterday, so I threw in some cranberry. Chloe, go away. You sound horrible. You hear her breathing out there? She's got asthma. She's got horrible asthma. And a lot of fur, so she gets really hot. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside while we do the dressing. Okay? So, you got your orange miso. Sometimes I do have to double check this one. Okay. Chia seed. I'm going to put that on top. We're going to start with our miso paste. I'm getting hungry now. I'm starting to get excited.
I can smell it from over here too.
Yeah, I have it. Maybe I got
Okay.
allergies. So where can we get the miso?
I got the miso paste at Sprouts,
Okay.
but I'm sure you can get it at Trader Joe's.
Okay. So we gotta know where to buy them, right?
Yeah. Here's the miso. The orange. This is fresh squeezed. You're welcome to, if you have regular orange juice in your home and that's what you have, you can use it. I just don't buy processed orange juice because it's high in sugar and it'll spike your blood. So, anyway. Okay. So we put in the white miso. Let me just follow the recipe for you guys. Let's do the chia seed. Just want to make sure I have everything in line. So I'm putting in 2 teaspoons of chia seed because I'm making just a little bit bigger batch. Okay. Actually, it says a tablespoon, doesn't it? So that was 1. Let me just add 1 more. Maybe I should put my glasses on. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? All right, so now we're going to do our onion powder. What is our onion powder called for? It says 1.5 teaspoons, right?
Yeah.
So since I'm doing just a bigger one, little bit bigger one, I'll guess. Here's about 1.5. A tad more. Onion powder is here. More. Okay. Then next we have our salt. I'm actually just going to throw a pinch. I don't want to. You guys can salt it to your taste. Next we have the dates that are pitted and soaked. I'm just going to throw them in. And then
And you leave the skin on those, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
And just take the seeds out.
Yep. And I have my measuring cup here. We're going to do 1/2 cup of fresh squeezed lemon juice. It says 1/4. I'm doing half because I'm making a little bit bigger amount. So I have 1/2 cup fresh squeezed lemon. And keep your if you squeeze your juices bulk like I do because I use them a lot. Always use a plastic container because the metal will turn rusty and it'll stick.
Does it affect the juice though?
What's that?
Does it affect the juice?
If you use one of these, absolutely yes,
Oh,
you get botulism.
So you need plastic
So you
container
need
for
plastic,
the.
anything citrusy or acidy, vinegar.
Well, plastic lid because the jar you're using is
It's glass.
Right.
It's glass.
But the
But
metal.
the lid has to be plastic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
Got it.
that okay.
Interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you put a metal lid on this acidic or vinegar or anything, it's gonna get rusty and nasty and. So, 1/2 cup of orange juice. Okay. in the cold water. 2 minutes. I'm gonna start with 3/4 of a cup because I don't like them running. I don't like them watery. I like a lot of flavor
Right.
in my dressings.
Right.
Make sure we got everything. We got the chia seed, we got the miso paste, and we're gonna cover it and blend it. It's gonna get really loud. Do you remember these from the cooking class?
Yeah.
For about a minute, just to let the longer you blend it, the thicker it'll get with the chia seed. And then the consistency, it's kind of thick. You want it kind of thick. Yeah. Yep, it's kind of yummy, perfect. So, put these out, and then we're gonna grab this. I'm going to actually throw in some, these are the pumpkin seeds.
Pumpkin seeds.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Just throw a little, and then also right here I have, come on, help me out, I forget what they're called.
That looked at sesame.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I'm sprinkling
So
a little bit
you
of
got
sesame.
Pumpkin seeds.
Yeah, these are just, like I said, they're optional add-ins. This is how I'm dressing it up. And I'm gonna just take the salad dressing.
Sesame seed.
Pour the dressing over the salad.
Oh, that looks good.
There. Mix this up. And I just toss it until it's all really well covered and coated. I'm going to serve the chickpea salad on some Ezekiel bread. So it's a grain bread. But another option you can do if you're trying to stay away from bread or you just don't like bread, you can actually clean up some romaine lettuce leaves and you can serve it just like a little lettuce taco.
Interesting. What about cucumbers, slices of cucumbers, or
You can put cucumber. You can top it with that whatever you like.
Oh, okay, cool.
You can even dice up some
But it'll go with
celery and
anything.
throw celery in there. You can really just
That's not
make it the
bad.
way you
Okay.
want. Alright, so that's that. It's gonna sit for till it gets. Okay, I'm gonna let this sit for a minute. And I'm going to share with you real quick, just and if you have any questions you can ask. I do have to make notes because I forget. Some of the benefits of chickpeas. Diabetes, right? So it helps moderate our blood sugar, right? Chickpeas are really good for bone health, blood pressure, heart health, cholesterol, mental health, digestion and regularity. I didn't put these in your folder, but if you guys would like copies, I can run some for you. After I put the video on, I can go make copies. Okay. Some benefits of the kale: great for digestion, high in iron, high in vitamin K, and again, as I mentioned before, really high in the carciferous. nutrients which feed our good cells, right? So it's kind of, so everybody has cancer cells. We have good and bad cells in our body, right? The two main reasons for disease and health breakdown in our bodies, two things: lack of nutrition and toxicity in our blood. So if you can bring up the carciferous intake, it helps reduce the toxicity from our blood. It's a natural detoxifier. Okay? It's high in calcium. It promotes liver health. So if you suffer from any sort of liver disease like I do, I was diagnosed with non-alcohol fatty liver disease about 5 years ago. And it was because of animal and dairy protein. And just not eating right, not being careful. I was on a lot of medication. One of the benefits of the spinach, which is what we're going to be putting on the top of our salad: weight loss, eye health, healthy bones, reduces hypertension, which is our blood pressure, right? It's anti-cancerous, and it promotes a healthy gastrointestinal process, right? It's good for your skin, prevents anemia, and it boosts our immunity. Some other things is some cabbage. So really quick, just for cabbage, I didn't know this, but cabbage is really good for your digestion. However, if you're in a state of upset and you're having gastrointestinal issues like constipation or diarrhea or IBS, because cabbage is a high FODMAP food, which means in the digestive process, it gets fermented and it draws a lot of liquid into the small intestine, which will cause pain, bloating, flatulence, just an all-around not good, right? So if you're experiencing those things after you eat cabbage, then you may want to take a look at possibly boiling it, reducing it down a little bit before you eat it. Okay? So, and then there's some others. Dates, really good source of energy, boosts your brain health, helps relieve constipation, intestinal disorder like SIBO, which is your small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, which comes from really just lack of care, not taking care of ourselves, right? So, I didn't know that dates prevented heart disease until recently. So, it's not just a wonderful sugar replacer. There are some beautiful health benefits to adding a few dates in our recipes, right? It also treats chronic diarrhea. So I didn't know that. I was doing some research for my dad when I found out my dad had a pancreas cancer. And so we were trying to figure out, some stuff that could help him. And I got all this information on our gallbladders and our livers because he had actually had his gallbladder taken out. They thought, it's your gallbladder. As soon as we take it out, you'll be fine. Well, he wasn't. He was worse. So, and then 3 months later, they found out it's his pancreas. So, anyway, I will make copies of this for you guys. And I think that we should get a plate of food, and we can make our way to the living room. And I think what I'll go ahead, it's only 12 o'clock. We've got plenty of time. Do you guys have questions? Is there anything you want to ask before we transition and anything? Or maybe if a question comes up, you can write it down.
I have a question. Is regular mayo okay to use or just vegan is better?
So it depends on your diet. If you're trying to stay away from dairy, then no, it's not good because the processing of the mayonnaise, they heat it up really, really hot. Most of your vegan mayonnaises are going to go through a cold process. Not all, but most, which is why I prefer the Vegenaise. But if you still prefer to have dairy and you like the mayo, just go with a light mayo maybe. Because you have to remember, mayo is very high in trans fat. And trans fat is going to feed your bad cells, your cancer cells, causes cholesterol. It causes inflammation. It's really just not a good thing you want to be putting in your body on a regular basis.
Got it. My other question was, we were talking about meat. What is fish? Is fish good?
Fish is good. I mean, there's some fish that we want to stay away from, like tilapia, because it's considered the bottom feeder of the ocean. But it's the junk food fish, but it's cheap, so a lot of people turn to it.
Just be mindful of the fish, because a lot nowadays the fish that you now. First of all, let me just make a side note. I don't eat meat or fish. I don't promote the eating of meat or fish, simply because I have struggled with my own health issues because of eating meats and fish and dairies and whatnot. But for someone who hasn't transitioned or doesn't want to transition, my suggestion would be just be very mindful of where you buy it. There's a lot of inappropriate and toxic metals that are in fish these days. I absolutely don't recommend any sort of shrimp. They're bottom feeders. They're like the cockroach of the ocean. If you pay attention to what they eat, they literally eat algae and poop of other fishes. So it's not something I want to put in my body. It's a personal choice, really. My goal here is to just teach you some alternative ways of tasty food that will, one, feed your life source, meaning increase your red blood cells, give you energy, reduce inflammation, and for those who suffer with diabetes, a lot of my recipes are for the reversal of diabetes. I graduated from UOP and I took a course in diabetes care and management, so a lot of the stuff that I promote is for diabetes, but what I've learned is a diabetes diet is just an overall good diet for general health. It's not just for people with diabetes. It treats a lot of chronic illness. Okay. And when I went on the diabetes diet, I completely reversed fibromyalgia. I got off medication. I was on antidepressants. I was on over 300 pills every 30 days. Pain pills, depression pills, anti-anxiety pills. I was taking very strong narcotics for the fibromyalgia, right? And I did this for years. And so that partnered with my diet is what trashed my gallbladder and my liver. When I came into the New Start and embraced
no wonder why
what I did ultimately is I embraced what the Bible said about my diet. Is what I did.
That's the most important.
The benefit was twofold. I was healed from I lost a lot I was 162 pounds when I started. So I had that benefit. I got off all my medication. I stopped taking the antidepressants. I don't take the painkillers. I don't take the anti-anxieties. I never did have to get on a diabetes medication, knock on wood, because I just didn't have that. But what happened after that is I would sit down to read something, and it was like somebody had turned the light on. I could understand things better. Instead of sitting and reading a 5-minute daily devotional, I would want to be in my Bible for hours at a time because I understood it and I wanted more of it. So it's a twofold process, right? God laid out in the Bible very clearly how we are to take care of His temple. And any step or deviation away from that, we're going to suffer for that. It's just that simple.
It's true, yeah, it is true.
And so that's what I'm all about now. I do lectures on, salvation. What does it have to do with our diet? Because if you've got the gut right, then you've got the heart right, then you get the head right. And so it's like our own personal little trinity, right? Our head, our heart, and our gut. And we have to keep it in line with what the Word of God says.
Right.
So,
Awesome.
enough about that.
What's about your cholesterol? What can you do?
There are a number of things you can do for your cholesterol. One, like switching to a plant-based mayonnaise. Cut out red meats. What are some things that you're doing in your diet that might help me maybe answer your question better? One of the main things I would say is really get more greens in your diet. Greens. And the greener it is, the better it is for your liver. A lot of folks like to cook their greens, but it really would be beneficial for your cholesterol if you try to start with a small amount, 10% raw. Then get yourself up to 10% raw, and take slow baby steps. And instead of boiling your collard greens, might I say blanch them if you need them soft, right? Blanching is just the process of dropping them in hot water really quick rather than putting them on the stove and boiling them at high heat. Or even better, get a collard green, cut the stem out, and wrap up your chicken,
That's a good
your
idea.
chickpea salad sandwich. I do spring rolls with collard greens, and that's another recipe that I can't wait to do a class on that because spring rolls are really good.
Yeah.
Condiments. I would have to caution you away from all condiments if you're suffering from high blood pressure or high cholesterol, because they're highly processed in sugar, right?
When
Lots
you
of
mean
salt.
condiment, what does that mean?
Condiment
Just like
means
general.
mayonnaise, ketchup, dairy mustard, Dijon mustards, anything that, you know, in the squeeze jar,
Okay.
anything that you want to squeeze on a sandwich.
Okay.
Too much of that.
What do you think?
So can you, the
Beans
greens,
are really good for cholesterol.
Beans?
Beans,
the greens, can you juice it?
grains.
Yes.
I have not been able to figure out how to juice a grain. You let me know when you do.
Well,
But
blending.
Can you
Blending.
just put it? Can you
Blend
just
it,
put
that's
it
what I
in?
meant,
Just
sorry.
like you would do a
blend
spinach.
it. You can
Blend it.
absolutely blend it.
Blend it, that's what I meant,
what
not
I
juice
do,
it. That
I
was
actually
wrong
made
English.
you can make like a mac cheese
Okay.
or a mac replacement sour cream. Like I do a really yummy vegan spinach dip where I use fresh spinach, and then I use cashews and make the vegan sour cream, and then put in the vegetables and make like a vegan spinach dip. You can use lentils. You can blend it in. You can, if you want, you can blend it into a shake even, because there's a lot of fruits and vegetables out there that will remove that flavor. I personally put oats, like an organic quick oat. Just throw it in your smoothie when you make your smoothie every morning. I have my list of my 3 favorite smoothies that I make, and I change the variation every day, so I'm never getting my same recipe. And oats, really good for high cholesterol, really good for heart disease. So that's something you can do.
But not good for diabetes, right?
I haven't heard that because we
I've
actually
been
promote
told.
Well,
oats.
because the carbohydrate in it, if you're diabetic, you wash the carbohydrate.
You have to be
That's
careful.
what I
You do
thought.
have to be careful.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay.
They won't, but see, you have to understand oats is not a sugar spiker,
Yes.
right?
That's true.
So like you can eat half a cup of oats and your blood sugar is gonna maybe slowly creep, right? But if you sit down and you eat a half a cup of, say, red
One
grapes,
rice, yeah.
even
Yeah.
one grape,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
it's gonna go bam,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
And here's another thing that people don't understand about diabetes. You can set yourself up today with what you eat to keep tomorrow morning's blood sugars level and managed. There are steps you can take. There are beans, legumes, couscous, different things you can implement in your last meal of the day to make sure that your first meal of the day doesn't kill you. Right?
Okay.
And another thing I would suggest, if you're struggling with spiking sugars after you eat, as soon as you don't eat to get yourself completely full, but get up and take a slow paced 20-minute walk. Get your heart pumping, get the blood going, get that pancreas moving, right? Don't just eat a meal and go sit down on the couch and turn on the television, right? It's just not something we want to do. So there's silverware and plates there on the table.